Welcome to the Ref Room, hockey talk for referees, coaches, players, and fans.
Broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
With your hosts, Smokin, Silz, and Baumruck.
Live.
The Ref Room starts right now.
And now your host.
All right, welcome everybody. I'm Smokin Silz along with Brad Baumruck, and we've got a very special guest today. We've got Mr. Billy Hancock, who just came back from working the Olympics a few weeks back. Month back?
Few weeks.
2 months?
Yeah, it's already a little while.
It was fast. But yeah, it's been a busy week. Lots of hockey here in the Chicagoland area. We just finished having not one, not two, but 3 tournaments here. So it's been really crazy. Everybody worked a lot. So we got stories I'm sure we're going to share. But I want to get right to it because we're very fortunate to have this gentleman join us. He is making a lot of noise in the referee community. Welcome, Billy Hancock. What's going on, my friend?
Not much. Excited to be here and join you guys finally. Hear a lot about the podcast, so nice to join you guys. And yeah, it has been a few months. I got back from China. I think it's been 2 months. Yeah. So,
I can't believe it's already. I mean, that's how fast the time flies. Honestly, like we were going to get you on the show a long time ago, and then what? You guys had to quarantine before, quarantine after, not go anywhere. Tell us about the trip. I mean, that had to be quite an experience, like especially with what was going on.
I have to be honest with our restrictions for Beijing were strict, but they weren't as bad as previous international tournaments we've had in the past. I worked the U18s back in April of last year in Dallas, and we had to be there for a full week before the tournament started just to quarantine. And in Beijing, we actually had to take a few COVID tests before we went down there, and it was a test at the airport. You got a phone call in your room, said you're good to go, and then we were, I guess, I don't want to say free to do anything we wanted because we still were restricted to our hotel. That was it. But it was a lot, quarantine-wise, it wasn't as bad as we expected it to be.
So was it that way for like all the athletes, or is it just the officials? Like you had to stay in your hotel, so you guys hang out at the hotel, or did you have to stay separated for the whole time? I mean, you know, you would expect that you'd have a lot of socialization on a trip like that. So
yeah. I mean, we were restricted to our hotel and to the rink we worked the games at. So we had 2 arenas that games were played, and we had the hotel. We were allowed to go to the rink and watch games, but we were not allowed to go to other events. So we weren't allowed to go watch the curling, go watch the speed skating, the figure skating. So that was kind of a downside to it all. I mean, I know it's part of your entire Olympic experience, go see other events. So that was the one kind of negative. But outside, I mean, we got to socialize in the hotel. There was a nice meeting area in the lobby we could hang out at night and stuff. And yeah, it was still a great time. And we had a lot good group of officials with the men's and the women's side that to socialize with. So it made it worthwhile. So.
How many Americans went?
On the men's side, we had 5. No, sorry, I apologize, 4 Americans.
that's amazing.
Interesting. It was myself, it was Andrew Bruggerman, Stephen Renault were the referees, and then Brian Oliver. And Andrew's from Minnesota. Stephen Renault is from Kansas City. And Brian Oliver is from Rochester, New York, and then myself being in the Chicago area.
Well, congratulations. I mean, that is such an accomplishment. I mean, we're really proud of you. You know, I say goalies make great referees, and Billy's a prime example of that, and a goalie that can skate on top of it. So that's awesome.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate that.
So tell me a little bit more about, like, you know, you're hanging out at the hotel. Do they have a bar and restaurant there? Do you guys get to go watch any of the other hockey games? Since you're in the hockey community, are you able to go watch any of the games that are going on? Or are you like only when you're assigned, do you leave the hotel and that's it?
We were allowed to go watch our own events, so we could go watch the men's and the women's games. And in the hotel, there was a bar lounge we could hang out at. There was a full restaurant that we could get food. The IHF supplied 3 meals a day for us. So the first meal was breakfast in the morning at the hotel, and then we had lunch and dinner was at our rink. The only downside to that was for the men's side, our rink was a 45-minute bus ride away from the hotel. So if you wanted to go get food, you were hop on the bus, going there, and that was where the meals were supplied for. And the meals were good, like no complaints on the food. But if you didn't feel like riding a bus for 45 minutes, you get food at the hotel. You pay for it out of your own pocket, which was not a big deal. And the food was pretty good. I can't complain about the food there. Yeah, the socialization at night, which is kind of, there's a little lounge in the lobby. The guys would get together. The girls would kind of have their pod over in the corner. The guys have their pod over in our corner. We just kind of hang out and do our own thing, just kind of talk for a while. Then when we all had days off, because the girls would have, our schedules were different. So you had the female officials on their side, the men officials their side, where we had our day off and they had to work the next day. So it was kind of being smart about, when to go heavy and when to, take it easy and have some fun. But again, like I said at the beginning, the group of people we had, it was a lot of fun to socialize with. And we as officials, there's not many times in your career you get to be with a group of officials for a long time. We were there for 3 weeks with each other. So 3 weeks being cooped up in a hotel with that group of people was pretty good.
Yeah.
How many games do you work? This is just curious. How many games does everybody work, like, when they first get there? Like, what are you assigned to, or do you find out when you get there? Is it day by day?
It's mainly day by day. We first got there. We got our first, I think it was the first 3 days of games were assigned. We were all told we'd be guaranteed at least 3 games because people don't realize that when you look at the schedule for the Olympics, it's quite a small and quick tournament. I mean, it's spread across 2.5 weeks, but the tournament goes by pretty fast. So I worked a total of 5 games. I had other people work 7 games. So it just kind of depended on how far you went, what officials were needed on which games. But yeah, the preliminary round, everyone got at least 3 games guaranteed, and then it depended if it were quarterfinals, semifinals, gold medal game, bronze medal game, and all that stuff.
And you got to work the gold medal game, right?
I did get to the gold medal game, yes. So that was,
Did
definitely
you have some butterflies before that game?
Yeah. It was. It's funny. I had one of my friends. People know him on the show, Jonathan Morrison, who does a lot of stuff for the ODP. He called me after when he got back from China. He was like, "I just want to say, I saw you on the ice, and you guys look so calm and cool and collected out there." I was like, "Well, I was dressed in the locker room 20 minutes before we be on the ice, and I never do that. I'm always like at the last minute time my skates up going on the ice, just sitting there going like, oh, I still have 20 minutes to go. Like just kind of, the pregame jitters. And the good thing was the game was at 12:10 local time in the afternoon, so it was kind of quick. It was like wake up, go to the rink, work the game. It wasn't a lot of wake up and sit around all day long, get the anticipation of it. So that was kind of a nice little part of it, but still, it was a lot of butterflies, very nervous, and definitely the biggest game of my career, and probably will be the biggest game of my career. So there's a lot of fun. Did you have
to buy a beer for anybody during the tournament?
I actually, yes, one time. I did play that one time.
I didn't know that.
Didn't mean to embarrass. I didn't think you would have to, but I had to ask the question because all the officials want to know.
Definitely wasn't high in the totem pole. There was a few guys and women officials that fell down more than I did, but no.
Yeah.
It happens. It's part of the job, right?
And just so everybody out there that may not be a referee understands what we're talking about, if you are working a game and you go down, doesn't have to be your fault. You can get pulled down by like 4 guys, but if you go down, you buy everybody a beverage of their choice. So
that includes the guys that might just be standing there too. So don't forget about
it's
that.
Everybody. So like, let's say your whole pod, like you had 12 officials that decided to come over and watch the game. That tab's on you, my friend.
There were quite a lot of people at that game too, so that didn't help anything.
Right. So tell us, like, the facilities and stuff, were they, like, absolutely world class? Is it like being at the United Center? I mean, for those of you who don't know, Billy works the AHL games, which means he's working the Wolves. And are you traveling, or do you only work the AHL games, like, in the immediate vicinity, like Milwaukee, Chicago, Rockford,
I just work the main vicinity teams here. The three. I call it the triangle. So yeah, it'd be Rockford, Chicago, and Milwaukee is where I'm based out of.
Right.
Okay.
But the facilities in Beijing were pretty good. I mean, we every IHF event we go to, we have a drying room, they call it. So we can keep all our gear at the hotel. At the arena. We do not bring it back to the hotel for us. The only exception is that since we had 2 rinks, we had a rink that was about 5 minutes from our hotel, and that was where the female officials were based out of. And then the male officials were based out of the rink that was 45 minutes away. We had 3 or 4 games at the closer rink, and then the rest of the games played at the other at the far away rink where the men were based out of. So a couple times, guys had to work the late game at the close rink, putting their gear back to the hotel because they had to go to the next rink the next day. That was the only exception. But for the most part, you keep your gear at the rink. You have a little stall. We had our name. We first showed up there, all of our jerseys, our helmets, all the gear we got was all set up for us. We had name tags in there in the locker room, so that was pretty cool. And then the lockers themselves, just picture of a normal size locker room, like a team locker room. That's what we had at our rink. The other arena was a little bit smaller, but still plenty of space to spread out for 4 officials. They actually had a separate room for the standby officials because every game had a standby referee and a standby linesman. But it was all in the same area. And the food was across the hallway from us. We had a full fridge full of water, Gatorade, whatever you needed. And just kind of the same treatment you'd get as, I guess you say, for all of our college level officials, professional officials. You're always supplied with Gatorade, water, towels, soap for shower, all that kind of stuff. It's pretty standard. But yeah, it was good.
Hey.
Clean locker rooms, big space.
Hey, you said standby officials. All right, so is that somebody that's there for like that day's games? Are they standing by, or is it like you get there? Like, let's say there's the first game going on, and you have the second game. Are you the standby official in that first game if you're working the second game, or is it somebody entirely separate?
It's somebody entirely separate for the most part. I know I'm not going to say there's ever an exception to that rule, but I know at previous tournaments you might be standby in the afternoon and you're working the game in the evening. But for the most part, you just do one game a day, whether you're working it or whether you're standby.
Okay,
Very cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and tell me, like, ice conditions, pretty amazing. Do they bring in like the caliber of the NHL to get that ice ready to go so it's up to par for all these teams? And
they do bring in the IHF will bring in ice maintenance crews from different countries. So we had our guy at our rink was from Canada, and he's the one in charge of making sure the bodies are in tip-top shape, the ice is even, the ice isn't melting, all that fun stuff. The boards are working properly. So yeah, they do bring in staff there, especially somewhere like China where hockey's not a very prevalent sport quite yet. They want to make sure the ice is in good condition. But fortunately, all the rinks, the buildings were built originally, and they were able to support hockey. So it might have been the first time that hockey was a big thing at these buildings. But I know the KHL did have teams or have a game, a team play out of the rink that the women officials or women's teams were playing out of. So they have had hockey in China before. It's not like it's the first time it's ever been there. But they definitely want to make sure they have professionals take care of the ice, that the IHF trusted, not just going into a country blind and not knowing who to talk to about it.
yeah, well, I'm curious too. Like, since I know you were on basically like lockdown at the hotel for the most part, but like when the games ended for you guys, were you able to get out and see any of the city or experience any of the the surroundings of China and kind of check things out, or any restaurant or shops or anything of that nature? Or was it like you get to the hotel, you get in the vehicle, and they're taking you right to the airport, they're getting you out of there?
Yeah, pretty much just hop on the bus from the hotel, go to the rink, and then that's it.
Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Hope you had a great stay.
You know what?
Thankfully, the buses had very big windows. Imagine just a city bus, like a normal, public transportation bus. That's what we rode on. And we drove by a lot of stuff, so we got a lot of pictures from the bus, which was nice. I mean, you're not going out to see the Great Wall of China. You're not doing any of that fun things you want to do, but I still got plenty of pictures while we were moving, stopped in city traffic. We got a police escort to go to the closing ceremonies. That was pretty cool.
That's cool.
We got to go to we had our own public lane of our own lane of transportation. So in the morning, you're going for the early game. There's rush hour traffic in Beijing. We had our own like carpool lane kind of thing dedicated to the Olympics. That was kind of cool. And then our fun picture was taken in the locker room. We had a TV there to watch the games and stuff. And they did a shuffle of pictures, a slideshow of China, tourist traps kind of thing. So they actually had a picture on there of the Great Wall of China. So me and the other refs working the game that one day, we stood in front of the TV and took a picture with the Great Wall of China behind us on TV. And we were like, "Yeah, we did it." So that was kind of our fun little picture. But yeah, sadly, it was a strict lockdown for us. We weren't allowed to go anywhere, and just the risk of bringing COVID back into the rink and stuff just wasn't worth it. So
Yeah, it's hard to believe. We've come a long way in a short period of time here, fortunately. So it's like, it's kind of behind us, hopefully. I know, whatever. I'm moving forward. Like, we're done, gone, bye.
Hey, I want to know what the fine. I want to know what the fine is for driving in the Olympic carpool lane. And if anybody tried it,
I will say this: no one tried it because there was cars in gridlock traffic in our lane, just cruising through.
See, and here I am.
Have that one Yahoo in the tundra with his wraparound sunglasses going, I got a Central States game to make. I got to go.
See, the bad part is, like, if I was on the bus, I would so be in the lane on the side where everybody's parked, and I'd be waving at them. I'm a terrible person. I'll be the first one to admit it, but I know I would have done it at least once.
That was us. We're all up there. I think the bus driver was scared because all of us were standing up in the front of the bus taking videos of watching Monday morning rush hour traffic. We're cruising by everybody else, and we're up there on our phones taking videos of it. So,
does it look pretty modern over there, or does it look, kind of weird as you go through certain areas?
No, I mean, all the areas that we were in were very, I guess you could say modernized. Like, it was very, to us, it was beautiful. Like, we had no issues with it. It was, again, locked out. We couldn't go anywhere or do things. So everywhere we went, people spoke English to us. All the signs were in English.
That's cool.
Because you're there for the Olympics. They take care of, make sure everyone's, comfortable there and everything. But, yeah, everyone was very nice to us. The people we had to interact with at the rink that were the locals and at the hotel, they're all locals. They were very kind to us, especially to think about the people that worked in the hotel. All had to quarantine before we got there. They had to quarantine after we left, and they had to stay in the hotel while we were there. So they weren't going into the hotel and then going back home. They were staying in the hotel with us. So kudos to them. I don't know if anyone's going to hear this, but we all appreciate everything they did for us. We couldn't
it's something
do
you don't
else,
think
so
about. There's a lot of people that went above and beyond, for the Call of Duty for you guys, not just for you guys, but for all the athletes. And it's pretty serious stuff.
Yep.
I'm curious too, normally there's let's call it contract deals with certain clothing manufacturers for, the U.S. teams and for other teams. Were you guys outfitted by a certain company for the Olympics? Did they get you measured up beforehand, or did you guys just show up and it's like, I take a size 48, pass that over here? And, it looked like you were putting on a balloon or something like that. Tell me a little bit more about, how they got you guys looking like pros.
So the IHF is sponsored. The officials are sponsored by Warrior. So we got all Warrior polos. We got Warrior T-shirts. We got our jerseys were from Warrior. So everything we had to wear was from Warrior. So
I haven't seen a Warrior referee jersey, to be honest with you. That's kind of cool. We see everything else, but I haven't seen those. That sounds pretty nice. They make some nice stuff.
They have a collarless jersey, so there's no collar on. It's kind of nice. I actually enjoy it a lot. But we've been sponsoring them, I think, for 3 or 4 years now. So every tournament I've gone to has been a Warrior jersey. They ask ahead of time what your jersey size is. We got to choose our numbers, which is something different because typically you go to a tournament, they give you a jersey that fits your size, and that's what you deal with. So It was cool to be able to choose our numbers. And, we got outfitted with a lot of swag. We had a winter jacket. We had a full tracksuit, sweatpants, like I said, 3 golf polos. We had a hoodie. It's pretty much everything they gave us. They said wear because we were told strictly that we're at this event and we're sponsored Warriors, so we weren't allowed to wear anything that was at least seen that had any other logo on it.
Right.
So,
what about the ref pants? Did you have to wear your own pants, or did they provide pants for you guys too, the padded pants, or how did that work?
We use our own pants, so they will supply us with a helmet and they supply us with the jersey. And as far as on ice stuff goes, that's what we got. And we got whistles too. We'll see that. You get whistles.
Warrior whistle.
Yep. No, it's a call. The big.
Oh yeah, that's what I use. That's
relationship with. Yep.
You like those, or you don't like them?
I don't mind them. I've been using them so much with the COVID years. We had to with college hockey and with the American League, and so I've gotten used to it. But what was funny is the Europeans have not been using them. So all the European officials were very confused, and some loved them, some hated them. They're pretty cool. They're the basic black one. I know a lot of people get them with the NHL logo on it. So where the NHL logo would be It had the Beijing 2022 Olympics logo on it, so it's pretty
that's
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Something cool to put away in a shadow box one day and probably never use again, but it's there. Helmets, same way. We got our Black Warrior helmets, and they had all the different stickers on for the Beijing. So it gets kind of unfortunate because I want to use the helmet again, but I would never wear the Beijing stuff on it. But I also used this helmet for 5 games. So it's kind of like I have a brand new helmet in my closet. So but
don't
do I
worry.
use it again? Do I just keep it? Like,
Don't worry, your kid will get to it.
That's a
unless
collector
you lock
piece.
that thing up.
Yeah, exactly. You know, put that thing under lock and key somewhere in like a bookcase. But yeah, that's very cool.
all
I
of it's
mean,
in the closet.
yeah. Yeah, I like, for those of you that we're talking about a specific whistle called the call whistle, and not to give them a plug or anything like that, but we do like them. They're a P-less whistle, so they don't freeze up. They're very comfortable. You don't have to really tape them. They've got rubber on the mouth portion, rubber on the fingers. I mean, they're a good
You
whistle.
like them.
I
don't like
do.
'em.
I know you like your Rolling Thunder, but
Acme Thunder.
Acme Thunderer. Yeah, I know what it is. But
There you go.
Some people like the
to go
Fox
from the
40. We
Segway-
might as well plug them all while we're at it here.
There you go. Go ahead.
And if you want to
Who
know the
else?
difference between them, and we've got
There's
a
a
video
video.
that you can go to. We even talk about the electronic whistles that people thought we were going to use that we never did because that just doesn't work. So, but that's a big deal. The call whistle has become
quick-
very popular, I think, amongst the refereeing community here, at least in Chicago.
Yeah, there's quite a few guys
Yeah.
using them. Yep.
And
And
a
gals.
quick segue from the whistles. It's kind of cool. If anyone ever watched any of the games in Beijing, we all had microphones on us. So referees and linesmen all had a microphone wrapped around our ear and came down to our mouth right here. Very awkward to skate with because I've never worn a microphone in my entire life on the ice. So the referees had them for their announcements. They announce penalties, as per usual, announce video reviews, that kind of stuff. Well, the linesmen had them as well. And what it was is that when we blew the whistle, it stopped the clock. So the clock was stopped instantaneously from us blowing our whistles. And the
Wow.
microphone
Really?
was tuned perfectly. The microphone was tuned perfectly to the sound that the call whistle makes. So if we used a standard whistle with a P in it, it wouldn't have stopped the clock.
All right, so I want to explain
Okay,
this to
that's
everybody
new.
because if you don't know the kind of microphone he's referring to, it's not you're ordering at the drive-through from McDonald's that has headphones on it. But this is what I actually use these for ceremonies when I have an officiant or somebody that doesn't really know what they're doing. But yet, like Madonna and all the top performers will use these when they're dancing around and moving. And the idea, it just comes from here. It wraps around your ear. It comes down to about here. And sometimes they will put a windscreen like this black thing that you see on it. Maybe you didn't have it. If you didn't have it, it's probably not even visible to most people. But it's great because no matter which way you turn your head, you're never off mic. So that's why that thing can key in perfectly and get exactly what you're trying to do with that whistle and pick it up because it won't ever, like, I'm going this way and the microphone is over that way. They're really great. And that's a recommendation that I had made a long time ago for teaching referees because I really feel when we do these, I don't want to call them seminars, but we've had some training sessions where you could have these guys, wearing this sort of thing with earpieces and wireless, and we could communicate with them while they're on the ice without being on the ice with them, for training purposes. Something that, I know you're doing a lot of seminars now, right, Billy? Is that what you're coming into? Because you've been asked to teach at a lot of these things with your experience. I mean, you worked the Olympics, the World Games, the AHL. Tell us a little bit about the seminars and what's coming up and how you guys, pass all this knowledge on to the rest of us.
Yeah, I mean, we, for the past, I want to say, I can't even count now, probably 5 summers I've been helping out with USA Hockey at the national level. So doing their futures camps for the officials, their high performance camp. We do Central District camp for our Central District officials. So I've been helping out with those seminars, and, it pretty much is taking guys that have worked high-level games and giving back to the younger guys and letting them cycle through and do the same thing that we did. Because when I came up, our camps were structured and called a little bit different. They used to be called regional and national camp, but those instructors I had done the same thing I'm doing now, which was working the Olympics, working professional hockey at some level, whether it be the American League, the NHL, working Division I college hockey in the Big Ten, the UCAC, the Hockey East. Those officials taught us, and then we go back to our area and we take what we learn and we apply it to our game, and then we also teach the officials in our area. So now, full circle, I'm now at the national level teaching camps with a lot of my colleagues who have done as many things as I've done. Saying that the Central District camp coming up, me and Stephen Renault will be running that camp for the second year in a row, and we both were in Beijing together. So, and a lot of the guys you work with have gone through the Tier 1 junior hockey. They're working the American League now, and like I said, wherever it is, the top level hockey they've worked, we bring them in, and we teach our younger officials advanced ways to become a better official. Because what I always say at these camps is USA Hockey gives you a great foundation for a house, and now it's time to build on top of that foundation. What can we do to make your game better? Because if you follow every single thing that USA Hockey teaches you at the professional level, it's not going to help you right now, but it's going to teach you how to get to that point. And then once you get to that point, you have to, build it. So, yeah.
And I'd also like to point out, other than the national camp and the Central District camp that Billy runs, he does help us out quite a bit here in Illinois. We do appreciate him, especially when we have a seminar up in Gurnee, okay? Because he lives up in that area, and I know that I can say, hey, Billy, you're going to be there, right? Yeah, okay, it's going to be great. Thank you. So that's one good thing. So thank you always helping us out. The officials that have had you as an instructor, we've gotten feedback, and it's always positive and it's always good. So I'm always happy about it, And he's always willing to give us his time. I know he helped us out last year, Wednesday before Thanksgiving, because all of a sudden we had an influx of a lot of referees that wanted to come in, and we were expecting quite a few more walk-ins than we normally have. And let me tell you, Billy was standing there. That morning was crazy. There was all these walk-ins and cash giving to it was. We accommodated our officials the best we could, so we tried. So Billy, thank you from us, seriously, in Illinois. You couldn't help us out more, especially on that day.
I honestly love giving back to the community. It's one of those things that, to say honestly, and this goes across the board for all of USA Hockey personnel, there's only a handful of people of USA Hockey at the national level that get paid a salary to their job, and this is just from me, from Scott, from Brad, to everybody in USA Hockey that helps out the officials, your referee in chief in your area. They're not being paid to do their job. It's a volunteer basis. So everyone that does their job loves the job they do. They want to get back. And if sometimes it takes a while for someone to get back to you, they probably have their real life going on. So that's why. But
they put a lot of time and effort into it.
Yes. Yes. And trust me, when we're transitioning out into summertime, our playoffs are starting soon, the American League here. And then after that, it's kind of full board on summer camps. I'll be doing at least 3 of them this summer. And they're all week-long camps. And it's kind of, all right, now once hockey ends, it's starting to think about finding video clips from our games, finding a new way to teach things. I do a lot of power skating instructing, so trying to find out more fun drills to do with that, not doing the same thing over and over again every single year. You want to get the guys trying different things. And then on-ice drills when it comes to positioning, off-ice questions and quizzes for them, and talking about the rules and, the rule knowledge and judgment. And it's a lot. There's a lot involved in it. And for those of you who are not an official, that's what makes our job so unique and difficult, is that no one can just go out on the ice and start doing it, and especially at a higher level, it's all about personality, your rule knowledge. It's all, and it's not just a high level; it's at any level. I mean, you can't just pick up a whistle, go on the ice, and say, "I know what I'm doing." And that's my fun joke to people when they have an argument or a question or we're having a conversation. It's like, well, if you want to do it, we have a huge referee shortage. We could use the help. And then people get out there and do, and they realize this isn't just black and white. And we know. We tried telling you that, and no one realized till they try it. So
it looks really easy. It looks really, really easy
because
when you're watching.
We make
people.
it look easy.
Yep.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, and I'm not putting anybody down, but with the shortage, we've had a lot of referees accelerated into our ranks here in Illinois. And I'm not putting any official down, but you can tell the guys that have been doing it a really long time compared to these new officials, and that's every time. But instead of normally, having like 3 experienced officials with 1 new official to these games, you're maybe getting 2 experienced people with 3 inexperienced people, or worse, or 2 inexperienced people, or even worse, 1 experienced person with 3. And, and I'm not putting anybody down. That just, it all comes as it goes.
They're just
But,
getting
so
thrown in the
we all
fire
have to
way
learn.
quicker
Yeah.
than they used to.
And
You get baptized very quickly.
yeah, but I can tell you almost everybody that I've worked with that wanted to be there. Did
Yep.
we lose Billy?
I think we lost Billy.
I hope not. We'll get him back.
He'll come back.
But
I'm
anyways,
sure.
everybody that has been thrown into the fire has done quite well this season that we've had here in Illinois, and I'll be the first one to say that because there have been people that I saw at the beginning of the year that got a lot better by the end of the year when I saw them. So it was very, very good. Why don't we go hit some comments while Billy's gone? And if it's something that we want to talk to him about,
we can definitely do
we'll
that.
ask him.
First of all, first one, Billy, you've put the armbands, ref any games. Have you worked a game with Scott Silz or Brad? Have you refed any games? And it's Alan from Skokie asking the question. Well, the answer is, actually, Billy blew me off the last 2 times he was scheduled to work with me over the last few weeks.
There he is.
I'm going to get him back on to talk about that right now because I want to know, I got a substitute.
Well,
hang on, here he comes. Let me get
Scott.
him back up here. He's coming.
Scott, what's funny about that is
Billy,
me and Billy.
The question was posed here. Have you worked any games with Brad Baumruck or Scott Silz? And I said, well, Billy blew me off the last 2 times I was on the schedule with him. Do you think that was by design? He's like, oh. But he did send Verdonk, and I was, I'm always happy to see Verdonk, man. He's a great guy. So, Verdonk's a pro too. I think, does he work the A? I know he works NCAA.
NCAA.
I know that he does work the NCAA in the Big Ten. I don't believe he's ever worked the American League, but he can very well work it.
Yeah, he's in great shape. He can skate,
sure.
and he's a great guy. He's a lot of fun to work with. So if I can't have Billy, then I'll take Verdonk. But Billy probably blew me off. Didn't like the last evaluation or something.
Hey Scott, what's funny about it is me and Billy a couple years ago before the whole COVID thing, there must have been like 5 games in a row that like I saw his name or he saw my name and we clicked on him and we're like all ready to work with each other and we got to the rink and there's no teams. Like it was the craziest thing. Like Billy, there was like 3 times or 5. It was a lot of times in a row and I'm like, maybe we should just click on all of our games together. We'll never have to skate.
There you go.
It was really weird.
Yeah,
Somebody says so proud of you, Billy Hancock. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna go with that's probably Michelle.
Yeah. Mark Bialco wants to know, did you have access to internet in China? Was it limited?
That's a good.
Did it only go to like one server?
It's we all had our. It's kind of a funny joke, but all of us were serious about all that stuff. There, we all got VPNs in our computers and our phones, and we had access. The internet was fine, everything worked great, but it just was a precaution. You never know. So that actually we had a Beijing internet that was dedicated to all the Olympic athletes. So it worked on the bus to and from
Special service.
To and from the rink. Yeah, it worked on the bus to
Special.
and from the rink. It worked on at the rink all around. And the hotel had their own Wi-Fi there too. So
were you given any instruction seriously by like the United States people before you went there? Were you cautioned about a lot of things like behavior or conversations or anything of that nature? I don't want to call it not censored, but were you advised like be really careful? Did they remind you or pull you aside and tell you, hey?
No.
Okay.
Nothing to fish from anybody. Just all about what you read online and stuff. So it's nothing to fish from anybody else. Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, Andy Hudson, just now tuning in. Well, you're late, Andy. By the way, I saw your boys over the weekend because I had 2 games. I had Mr. Jamal Mayer and the legendary former NHL referee Tim Peel. Who I happened to work a couple of their games, and by the way, they were awesome. I didn't have any issues, just so you know. But here, let's see what Andy said. He said, just now tuning in. Thank you, Billy, for agreeing to instruct at our USA Hockey Central District officials officiating experience. And which one? Where is it going to be held this year? The Central District.
It's back in Ames, Iowa. It's been
Ames.
there for forever.
So I've been to
It's been
2 of
there a
those.
long-
So those are open to everyone. You can sign up and go. Like you pay a very, very small fee. You get like 5 ice skating sessions, power skating sessions. You get a lot of classroom. They're great, man. I mean, if you haven't had a chance to do one, you should. And if you're going to be there, it's certainly going to be worthwhile doing that.
And then
He says, Madonna, you're aging yourself, Silz. Yeah. Okay, I
Scotty.
should have said Britney Spears. I could name the rappers want a microphone, just so you know. They need something in their hands so they can throw it down when the time is appropriate, and so they don't want just like a little earpiece. So just so you know.
Hey, Scotty, before
Yeah.
you move on,
Yeah.
going back to the Central District experience,
The Central
Billy.
District
So they split it in. They've split it into two things. So can you explain like the difference between the two? It's like the one's the exposure camp, and then the other one is like the development camp. And then like, why is one the exposure camp and one the development camp? Like, what are the days? Are they different? Is just give us an insight here for people looking for it.
They're run very differently. You have a development side is for more the newer official who's just kind of getting started, and they want to have a more of a dedicated. Where I'm at,
I'm trying to do it blind. What can I tell you?
We have more of the person who goes to development camp be more of a newer official who wants to learn how to be a better official, but gets a longer dedicated camp more as opposed to a quick 6-hour, 8-hour seminar they'd get at home. And not saying our seminars are never educational, just this one goes more in depth about a lot of things. So that's more tailored towards a level 1, newer level 2 officials, that kind of thing. How to make them the best official they can be at the level they're at right now, and then maybe one day get to go to the exposure camp. And our exposure camp is dedicated to those officials who are wanting to move up higher levels in hockey. So last year, I think we took 6 or 7 of those officials from the exposure camp, and we put them into our ODP prospect camp, which another camp I help instruct. It's in Buffalo, New York every year, and that's pretty much a trial camp for a junior development program. So those officials will be working Tier 3, Tier 2, Tier 1 junior hockey under USA Hockey. That's the North American League, the USHL, the NA3, some college club hockey. So the exposure camp is you're being exposed to newer stuff. And that's where we're going to start teaching more advanced techniques, advanced positioning, advanced more rule knowledge stuff. So yeah, it's just there's quite the difference. And I can say that last year we had a lot of guys there that were younger officials, and then me and Renaud, after our 2 days with the development group, we had to turn around and say, okay, here we go. Like now we got to start talking about all the advanced stuff. So it was quite the change in topics, but it's not saying that we had a few officials in the development camp last year probably should have been the exposure, and then vice versa, because it just depends where they come from and what kind of people we have with them as well. Because there may be an official who thinks that he's ready to work junior hockey because in his area he might not have very high level hockey to work, and that he might be the best guy there. And then you go to this camp and you realize, wow, I'm from I don't want to sound bad in any region area, but like middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, where we have one team, and it's like, okay, I might be the best official here. Then you go work with a guy that might be from Des Moines or from Chicago or from wherever else has a lot of good quality AAA hockey, and you go, wow, like these guys are really good, and here's I deal with this. Yeah, I mean, Detroit area. I mean, For those who don't know, I came from Detroit, and the reason why I got spoiled with the best AAA hockey I could ever think of, that's who I got to work with and develop with. So you can be a great official in your area, and we want that. We want you to be, whatever you have to work with, you work to the best level as you can, but then you go to a national, so you realize these guys are 10 times faster than the guys that skate at home. And I think that might have been a realization for a lot of officials here that went to nationals for the first time. They've never had that kind of competition, never had the kind of support that they have from their officiating partners, because in their area it just might be a lot different. And that's the reality of USA Hockey, with how many officials we have and the discrepancies in talent level between players and officials, and also what support system you have back in the area. Like I know in Chicago we have a great support system with our officiating. We're trying to make our officials better through education and stuff. You might come from somewhere in North Dakota where you don't have that kind of support. You don't have that kind of officiating developed. And that's when we go to the ODP camp. So the ODP is run by Scott Zelkin, who actually resides in the Chicago area. So he's local to us, which is quite nice. But at that level, we bring everyone in together, and we have, we'll say, 150 officials in the ODP that all work underneath the same supervisors and are all told the same thing. We're not being told different things from 50 different people in your area. So but it's more at a national level, and it's better hockey. You get to work junior hockey, college hockey, and that's what the stepping stone is into working Division I college hockey, international hockey, professional hockey, all that kind of stuff.
Well, couple more comments here. Let's do this one. Ben Stark is chiming in. What's up, Benny? Does the IIHF rulebook require whistles for goals? If not, did they require it for the clock reasons? Since the linesmen were using, the referees would have been using the microphone in that situation too. So,
the IHF protocols do want us blowing whistles, and that is mainly for the clock. But that also is every level, down to your Division 2A, 2Bs. The small tournaments. Like my first tournament was in Mexico City at a Division 2C something. But yeah, they still want everyone blowing the whistle at the same level. So the only time the whistle microphone I've ever experienced is at the Olympics, and that was the main reason for it. Blow a whistle, and that way the clock will stop. But there was still a clock operator in case for some reason the referee did not blow a whistle, or in case the thing malfunctioned, there was somebody there to stop the clock. So.
Yeah. Well, I have a question too. I want to go back because Ben just brought up like a rule book. You work so many different leagues. How do you keep all the rules straight? I mean, I find it hard working maybe 2 different rule books. You're probably working 4, 5, 6 different rule books, I'm guessing. Like, how do you remember what the rule is? Because they get confusing. The face-off in this book, it would be here. Face-off in this book would be here, and it does get confusing. And I've been to the seminars and some great referees there instructing, and they're like, I got to go look because I don't typically work the USA Hockey rule book like I do the others. So how do you keep it all together? Honestly, that is really special to do that.
It's a lot of talk about earlier, relying on support from your teammates and stuff. It's kind of like that too in the locker room. So if I work in the USA Hockey game, I've known that book for a long time, and you just kind of refresh yourself with when they do the rule change every 4 years. And when you haven't worked a youth game in a long time, you kind of go back in your brain. Okay, what's this? Like especially now with the icing rules and the offside rules, you got to kind of remind yourself of that to get back into it. But when it comes to the other rule books, I have a cheat sheet in my bag. I look at every game. I reference it just to kind of refresh my brain on it. So we're talking about the college rule book, same face-off locations. If you shoot the puck towards the net and it doesn't hit anything, it stays down low. Just because it's a shot net, they keep it down low. In USA Hockey, it has to hit something. That's not an attacking player. If it's a pro hockey, that face-off stays down low no matter what. So if it goes out of play in the bench, it gets shot out on the sideboards or whatever. If the puck originated from the attacking zone, it stays in the attacking zone, no matter how it goes out of play. So that makes it easy for us to know because you're not looking to see what it hit or what it tipped. But it's different every single. So 3 rule books right there is all different.
So have you created your own special rule, like the sheet that you're talking about, the cheat sheet, or is this something that they give to everybody that just study this and you'll be okay?
This is my own thing. I did on my own. I created myself. It's
the Billy version.
I tell people. The Billy version. I get asked this question every year at a camp or at a seminar saying, how do you do it? How do you keep the differences? And I say everyone's different. Some people like flashcards. Some people just know it. Like they can memorize over the rule book. They know it. For me, mainly, I like to say I can memorize almost everything, but you can't because you know the rule, but it's also the way things are worded. So, for instance, say we had a situation this past week in my game in Milwaukee with the Admirals. A player got injured. Took a puck to the face. We blow a whistle because it's puck to the face. You freak out. Like the guy might, be bleeding or whatever. He gets up and the puck hit his visor thing. But he was fine. So does he have to leave the ice or can he stay on the ice? Well, in the USA Hockey rule book, you blow the whistle for an injured player. He has to leave the ice right away and come back the next shift. In the pro rule book, he has to leave the ice only if the trainer comes on the ice to attend to him. So there's that small, subtle difference. So he could stay on the ice and play the next shift if you wanted to. So it's kind of like you might know the rule, but there might be that subtle difference in the wording that can make it different.
Yeah. I know, Brad, you have your own special cheat sheet. I haven't seen it. I've heard rumors. You keep telling me about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, all it is the index of the rules for USA Hockey that's shrunk down, including the measurements, to the size of my riot pad.
Yeah.
And then when I worked the college ones, I used to carry it all the time, but I used to carry it more when I worked junior hockey as well, because then you could be switching through 2 rule books all weekend. Like you could work Friday on an ACHA game, you could work a junior game in the morning on Saturday, and then you could work an ACHA game at night. So like it gets real blurred together, and then you're working a junior game Sunday. Then you might get home and referee 2 USA games in your high school when you get home. So now you've incorporated a third one. So yeah, I used to carry it, and I just take it out real quick, look at it. Okay, yeah. And then I'll be the first one to admit, every once in a while, I still carry my USA one, and because they've changed everything now, when we used to have standalone 5s, well, with the college hockey, hey, I can give a 5 for that, right? Like, I don't know. Nobody knows what you're looking at in your riot pad, trust me. Nobody knows, and nobody really cares. But you could put it right there, and there's a whole list in each rule book, an index of penalties. So if you're ever wondering, carry it with you.
Yep.
It helped me the most with fines for juniors when we did fines, because there were some weird things that would happen in there. But yeah, that's how I did it, and I just brought it to Kinko's, and I handed them the riot pad. I said I want this shrunk down and then laminated, double-sided, and they made it for me.
Now let's see if Andy chimes in and says you're dating yourself with Kinko's, because I think it's FedEx now.
It is FedEx. You know what? I should know, because when I ordered whistles the last time, I'm very, very mad about this still. That guy ran to the door, okay? Rang the doorbell, and I was like 2 steps away, and I got up to answer the door in the same room where the door is, and he was already driving away.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I know they were heavy.
A couple more comments here. Feedback for the Central District officiating experience has been amazing again this year. Lots of strong applicants. I'm not surprised by that. We have some really good people. And, we got a lot of new people in the last year that have come in. And a lot of them have stepped up. We have some people that can skate. They're going to be very good. I had a high school student I worked with the other day. I've watched him grow over like the last year plus. He's doing really well. We have some guys that have gone to the programs. I mean, I'm really proud of some of these guys. I had another guy I worked with this year. We basically gave him a 3-hour ADP class over a Bantam Central States game and a high school varsity game, the first 2 he had ever done. But he can skate, and he learned really quickly. I mean, he did a great job. So, we do have some good people coming in. I'm excited about that. Billy, can I take you up in CD camp relay races? I'll do my best to keep up, but only if you skate backwards. Billy probably can go faster back. Okay, he's a goalie. He could have shuffled backwards faster.
I was going to say that, Andy. He might be going forward. I think backwards I got him a little faster.
Carl, no youth coach can argue with Billy's calls. He's too good. Boy, I hope he's right about that. I hope you're right, Carl. Because I don't know. I think some of these squirt and peewee coaches could argue anything.
Yeah, they could. Yeah.
Okay, gotta fly, boys. Okay, well, thanks for checking in, Andy. Appreciate you. And, Andy was instrumental in getting Tim Peel on the show for us, so we thank him for that. And I know we got to get Andy back on. He gives a lot to hockey, and he's one of the good guys, St. Louis guy. So thanks for checking us out, Andy. Anyway, getting back to you, Billy, I mean, we are absolutely very proud of you and appreciate all that you do for everybody here in the Chicagoland area. It's fun, And, the beauty of being a referee, like, I'm not going to say if you're a one or, I don't want to call it a one or like an earlier learning referee, but you haven't been put into the advanced games.
A less
you can end up
experienced
skating
official.
With professional people like Billy and some of the other guys that work the college, the NCAA, work pro hockey. You could even possibly end up skating with an NHL official or an ex-NHL official. I mean, we really do have guys that stay in the game and give back, and they're around, they're available, they will chat with you. They are, they're not like, I can't talk to you. I worked the Olympic game. Although Billy did blow me off the last 2 times. Before he worked the Olympic games, he would show up,
Hey, Scott, Scott, you make an excellent point, and you've said this before, too. There's a lot of good referees in the area that you live in. That's not just Chicago. There are really good referees that have worked really high levels all throughout the country. And I can tell you one thing. They will answer your questions, and they will answer them honestly, and they will give you the right advice. And if they don't know, they'll figure it out for you. So pick the guy's brains that you're skating with. If you think that they're doing something right, ask them why they're doing it. Ask them why they do this. Or, hey, I don't understand why you called that penalty, but you didn't call that one. Ask them. They'll go through the thought process with you because the games aren't all about just, offsides, icing, and penalties. Yeah, penalties are penalties, but, picking through the penalties and picking through the game and why they weigh so much and why they don't weigh so much, you got to ask somebody if you don't know how to do it yourself or you haven't started to master it. You can refine your skills because every once in a while still I'll talk to a referee and I'll be like, why did you call that but not that? And we'll have a half-hour conversation about it, and they'll sway me more to their side, and actually I'll change how I call something because I'm like, yeah, you know what? Their reasoning's right. Like, I get it. Like, I have just learned something. It's more in the gray area than I thought.
Yep, that's a great point, and I think when you have the really experienced officials in the room and you're asking questions, if you ask a couple of these really deep questions, they're going to know you're really serious and that you understand the game and what you're looking for. Because when you ask those types of questions, they're like, okay, this guy understands where we are with this and where we're going. And those are great guys to really get some advice from, And I've learned, I won't tell you the situations, but maybe there's a situation where you make a call and you'll have like an NCAA ref say like, yeah, I wouldn't have called that, Tell him to go to the gym and work out and learn how to hold his stick. That was like the response, like little crazy things that you think, well, that's certainly a penalty. You don't need to call it.
No, I mean, and speaking as someone who wants to be asked questions like that too, like you said, you have someone to ask, like, hey, what do you think about this? Or do you think it was a penalty? Don't always be mad if someone says, no, I don't think it was a penalty. And then you get frustrated, like, well, what? And it's like, well, let me explain my reasoning for it. And also learn that we're also learning the game too. Still at this level, I mean, don't think that we go on the ice as in the American League or for me in Beijing and we go out there, we're perfect. Like, we still got supervisions and, there's, things we all mess up. There's mistakes we make. And as long as the biggest thing I'll say is that anyone can defend judgment or I guess I don't want to say bad judgment, or if you make a decision that might not have been portrayed as well from somebody else. But as long as you're not messed up our black and white rule, that's where you have issues. So it's like, know your rule book, but then you can talk situations. Like, this weird thing happened, walk me through it. Or it was a close offside play, or it was, a close icing play, and especially when you get into hybrid icing stuff. Like, that kind of stuff is very difficult to talk about, and mainly penalties. Like, you make a penalty call, and it's like, why would you not have called it? Well, did the guy get tripped? Yes, but where'd the puck go? Right to his teammate's stick on a breakaway.
Right. See,
we don't call that a penalty.
Man,
so
you
that's kind
just
of things you break it down.
You just hit the nail right on the head, and I want to stay on this point for a minute because, I think when you have coaches that don't understand the refereeing side, the game management side, and I'm, at the higher level, I think when you're working, you're working high level AAA, high level high school, the teams that they understand it, the coaches understand it. You see the coaches. They kind of know what your standard is. They know what they can expect. But I think when you get a lot of coaches that come in from other regions of the country, other parts of the country, they're working at a lower level. They may not quite understand this. I know the parents certainly don't understand it. They think, the kid fell down, it's a trip. Doesn't matter, there was nobody within 15 feet of him. Still a trip. It was my kid, he went down, you got to call a penalty. These
Scott,
these are great points that you're making. And
the bad thing about
sorry,
it.
Brad.
You want to go over me?
I got this. Give me 1 second.
All right.
The best thing about this is that, or I love telling this at seminars, and I'm not a referee. All right, I'm a linesman. I perfected my career. I'm not a referee. I don't want to tell a referee to do his job. But this is the rule book, right? This is our current rule book. I'm raised. I found this. Okay, here it is.
Yep.
It's paperback. It's flexible. Right? There's a lot of judgment in hockey, and that's why I always tell people is that don't be afraid because there's two different kinds of officials: the black and white official and the judgment official. And as long as you can use a rule book to defend your calls using the rule book, you can also defend your calls using judgment too. And these books are not hardcover for a reason. Like, look at this. You can bend it, right? You can bend the rules a little bit. That's why I say the example of the tripping call. Does he trip him? Sure. Where'd the puck go? Was there an advantage game? Was there a turnover? No. Do we think it's worthy of putting a team down 2 minutes? If you're putting a team down 5-on-3, is it worth putting a team down 5-on-3 for 1:45 because the guy got tripped up in the corner and there was no turnover? No, because now think about what could happen from that 5-on-3 call. They score a goal. They go up 2-1. They score a second goal. They go up 3-1. you made that tie game into a 2-goal game off of 2 penalties you was called.
Yep.
Right, and the one thing that
let's say you have there's 2 minutes left in the game and it's a 1-goal game or a tie game, and you have something that happens that really doesn't affect play, you're basically taking that team out of the game if you put them down at that point. The game's over for them.
Yep.
You've just given the game away.
Scott, the reason that these parents, I think, yell the most, and some of the coaches too as well, is, they go and they sit down on their couch or their bar stool at their local pub, whatever they prefer, and they watch a Hawks game or a Detroit Red Wings game or whoever you fancy. And those players and that skill caliber is so high. I did that especially for you, Billy, just so you know.
Is that this?
But the Detroit thing. Okay. Those players and those skill levels is so high that the referees, they don't have to pick through penalties. It's kind of pretty black and white in the NHL because those players are so good. 99% of the time, it was a penalty. Like, at the lower levels, you have a skill discrepancy that you have to go through too. You have to look at, what was this player doing? Did he mean to poke his feet out, and is he not that skilled, or did he trip him? And that's the big thing that I think is a big variance. Plus, like the NHL, they have their own set of rules with interference and stuff like that, because those players, when they do get in somebody's way, they're not doing it inadvertently because they are so skilled. Billy, I'm on the right path with this, don't you think?
You are. Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So those players are so skilled. You're watching these guys, and even the women on the Olympic side and the international side. They're such good players.
Oh, yeah.
They can't really plausibly deny that they didn't do it on purpose because they are that good. So in their realm, in their game, they play a different game than what we all officiate. And, even the A is different, but it's very, very close. It's very similar hockey. I know that, and I know it's really, really fast hockey from what I've heard, other than doing, the tryouts, which, that's nothing, I guarantee you. But it's just, I think that's what a lot of people see, and then they try to, transfer that over, and it doesn't work. There's a disconnect, because in baseball, you're not really violating any rules, because basically all it is you hit, catch, throw. I mean, there's nobody trying to interfere with people most of the time or hook them or do anything like that, So that's just my 2 cents on it. And Billy, I was wondering if you thought the same thing.
You got the subjective strike zone, which is the big one. That's.
Hey, is it raining out?
Why?
You better be swinging at the first pitch. I'm not an umpire, but I'm just just saying.
All right, Billy, before we go here, if you got a couple more minutes, I'd like to ask, what is the path for somebody to get to where you've gotten to, okay? We have a lot of younger officials. I know guys like me, we're not going to the Olympic Games. We're lucky if we're going to the Mite Split Ice game. But
they'll sell tickets next time.
What is the pathway for somebody like yourself to get to be able to do the IIHF games, to do the Olympic games, to work the AHL? Kind of break it down so everybody knows.
I can't say there's a specific path for every single official out there because there's always differences with your skill set. It might be your age, it might be your location, all that kind of stuff. So, for me, I went through all the USA Hockey camps. I started out at a local seminar in Detroit. That's where I first got certified back when I was 14. And then worked games, and I mentioned earlier about being spoiled with having good AAA hockey in the Detroit area. I got to work high-level hockey right in my backyard. So working that stuff, by the time I was 18, I was going to the ODP. I went to USA Hockey's regional camp, which is now known as their Futures Camp. And then I went to National Camp, which is now known as High Performance Camp. So we had the same kind of camps, just different names, different structures. From there, I got invited to a camp called the Program of Merit, which we still do have that. And that camp is basically a huge exposure thing for officials to go to and meet other, refereeing chiefs, officiating bosses, the schedulers of professional leagues, college leagues. That's where you get to kind of show off yourself. You work games, you do skating drills, do off-ice testing, physical fitness, that kind of stuff. And you get to meet these people from the ECHL, from the American League, from the Big Ten, from whatever college hockey league conference that might be in your backyard. So you go to those kind of camps, and then you keep developing, working Tier 1 junior hockey. I got to work a couple Clark Cup finals in the USHL, so I was very fortunate for that. Conquered that league, moved to the next league. Now it's the American League. I talk about being in a good location. When I was 21, I just moved to Chicago, living in the ODP apartment that the USL paid for, and they needed guys with the American League. And I was a linesman living in Chicago. I said, hey, guess what? Here's a contract. I said, okay, great. So I get spoiled from having AAA hockey at the amateur level in Detroit. Now I got lucky enough to be able to work 3 professional teams in my backyard in Chicago and develop from there. And then we have a camp for the IHF, which is called the Elite Experience. And it used to be previously held in Lake Placid, New York, and now it's held in Plymouth, Michigan at USA Hockey Arena. That camp is open invite to anybody who wants to apply, but they want to have professional experience. They'll bring 4 referees, 4 linesmen. You work, it is USA Hockey's U20 teams tryout camp. So you work teams from, it's all of USA Hockey. They have their U20. They have like 3 teams there. They break the teams down, who's not making the team. They bring countries like Sweden, Canada will play there, Russia will be there, whatever countries will be in town for that tournament. You work that, and that's you get certified for your IHF license, so you can work international hockey. And then you just kind of sit back and wait for an assignment. And then once you get your assignment, you go to your first tournament. It may be, you might get lucky, like my good friend Jake Rakucki out of Grand Rapids. He got his first tournament was at U18s down in Texas last year with me. My first tournament was doing the World Men's Mexico City Division 2A. And, you work teams that you never heard or never think that have ice in their countries. So it's a very low-level tournament, but you go work it, you kill it, and then you get to go to your next tournament. So I worked my way from that tournament to the U18s in Slovakia, the top tournament there. I did the U20s in Buffalo, so the World Juniors in Buffalo. I did the World Championships in Slovakia in 2019. I was supposed to go to Switzerland in 2020 for the World Championships, but we all know the thing called COVID decided to ruin things. I did the U18s again in Dallas last year, and then I got to go to the Olympics this season. So it's definitely not you get to go into international hockey, you get your license, and here's the Olympics. There's a long pathway through it, and it's a long process. But I have to thank that all the people, and like I said, all these camps I went to, all the USA hockey camps I worked or I attended, that now I get to teach. That's where I learned all the stuff I did. And you take that stuff that you learn and you apply it to the game you work. And you've got to work your butt off to get to that point where you can be working professional hockey, Tier 1 junior hockey, Division 1 college hockey. Go to this elite camp, get your IHF international license, and then you get a chance to go to tournaments. And you kill those tournaments, because if you don't do well those tournaments, I can speak from experience from other friends of mine. You have a bad tournament, it might not be your last, but that list for the Olympics is a lot shorter and shorter every single year. So.
All right, so then there's only one other stop for you, I believe, that you haven't made, right? There's only one more stepping stone, right? Is there any place you can go besides one more step up, and that's the show?
Well, I mean, there is other outlets too. I mean, the NHL will be the tippy top of the iceberg, but for me, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Which, the K. The
K. You could work in the K. Hey, why not?
Yeah. Well, I mean.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I mean, we're thinking the NHL, obviously. We talked a little bit about this before. I mean, what are the chances now? I mean, things have changed in the way they invite people to the combine and people get in. You want to talk about that a little bit? Do you know much, have any experience with how that would work?
I'm not sure what, honestly, the thought process is anymore with everything being hired. I mean, they wanted to hire the officials that have been working their butts off and they dedicate their careers to it, which we still do have guys being hired that way. I'm not saying they've gone away from that at all. They still do. A guy that instructed last year with me at the ODP camp in Buffalo, Kelly McNamara, I instructed him at a camp 4 years ago in New Hampshire, and this is his first year in the National Hockey League. So he dedicated his tenure to officiating, and it paid off for him. And I also know they also are hiring officials that don't have the most efficient experience, but they might have played at a high level, and they hire them in the National Hockey League. They work the American League for a couple of years, and they get full-time contracts in the NHL. I can see both ways it works. I understand their thought process on hiring ex-former players. They understand the game. You put a jersey on them as a referee and say, here's the rule book, figure it out, go out there and do it, and they be good officials. I'm not saying that they're bad officials whatsoever, but the thought process in hiring has definitely changed over the past 10 years. But for anyone who wants to be an official, they still are hired officials that are officials. So I don't want to say that has gone by the wayside whatsoever. I don't want to discourage anybody because, like I said, Kelly McNamara, he got hired. He was an official. He went his way through the USHL, through the ECHL, the American League, and now he's worked a ton of games this season as a Lions in the National Hockey League, which is great. But I also want to say that there's other outlets of professional hockey. Me and a few of my colleagues have were afforded the opportunity to go over to Germany and work their professional league this year. I was there for 3 weeks, and I was the first linesman to go over there from the States, and we had 5 American referees over there, and pretty much our job is to go there and work with their officials. They want to kind of get more of a North American style, per se, for their European league. And like I said, I wasn't the NHL, but it was still the top league in Germany. I got to work with a lot of former American League players, a lot of former NHL players who, they're towards in their career, they go to Germany and play there for a few years and enjoy with their families. It was a lot of fun, and it still was the tippy top of their league. And let me tell you, the fan experience there is unreal. The 18,000 fans in Cologne, they're all cheering. And imagine a soccer game. You watch a European soccer match, and the fans are waving flags and chanting the entire time. That's how their hockey games are too. So
that's cool.
It was an unreal experience, and it might not be the NHL over here, but I got 3 weeks in Europe. It was a great time. Got paid to be there and work a lot of good hockey, and it was a lot of fun.
So they want to bring the North American side over there, huh? So what'd you do? Skate around and tell everybody to start dropping their gloves?
Pretty much, yeah.
You want ratings? Here we go.
I just felt like doing that. I'm sorry. It's not common outside of our areas. Us in Canada, it's not as common.
We talk about in even the United States and USA Hockey at the amateur level, we have different officiating styles. When you go to Detroit, when you go to Chicago, you're down in Texas, you're in California, Alaska, wherever it may be, you have different officials there, and they call a different game. They interpret the rules differently. And that's the same as it goes to European style, to North American style. You go over there, and they might call that trip that leads to a breakaway that wasn't really a trip or whatever. Or they might not call it. Or, you teach their officials that. And, not to say anything bad about our officials or their officials, just the game's taught differently. And they have a different development system. I mean, imagine how big USA is, the country, the United States, how big this country is, and how many officials we have in our organization. And now go to Germany and say how big their country is, and how many officials do you think they have in their organization?
Yeah.
We think we have a referee shortage?
Yeah. Theirs has got to be crazy.
They don't have that much hockey probably like we do either. So it's all relative.
A funny story, I want to mention this because I love talking about stories. So my first tournament mentioned Mexico City, Mexico. 6 teams there again that you never thought would ever have hockey, but they do. And I'm down there working with an official, and he's from Bulgaria. So Bulgarian hockey versus USA hockey, quite the difference. You can imagine. So I'm talking to this official, and all of a sudden we're outside waiting for the bus to pick us up, and I look over and I hear a guy speaking, sounds American. So I walk over and I was like, hello. Said, are you from USA? He had a USA hockey polo on, so I asked the question, are you from USA hockey? He says, yeah. And I'm like, why are you doing here? And he's like, I'm just here. My friend is a referee-in-chief for, I forget the title, but he was in charge, executive director of Mexican hockey. I said, okay, that's awesome. I said, do you work for USA? He goes, yeah, I work in the office. And I was like, that's cool. And we're talking for a little while, and he goes, yeah, I do a lot of stuff with officiating. So I walk back over and to the Bulgarian official, and he looks at me and goes, who was that? And I said, I don't know, Tim something from USA Hockey. He's like, you don't know that guy from USA Hockey? I said, no. He goes, I know every single person that works in our hockey division in Bulgaria. I said,
both of them.
I said, I
know both of them personally.
I said, I know one person that works in the office personally. I know of 2 other people who I've never met in my life before. I just exchanged emails with them. And there's also 20, at this time, there were like 27,000 officials in USA Hockey. I said, there's no way I know every single person. And he looked at me just dumbfounded. And I'm like, wow. Like, we don't realize how nice we have it here with our support system and our development, our education, because you look at them, they're like, there's 5 people that work for all of Bulgaria hockey. That's it. And I know every single person by first name.
And it works.
So
it still works.
Yeah,
They're still putting out officials, apparently.
All right, so I got.
I mean, definitely not the level we have, but yeah.
Yeah, one more thing I want to ask you. So you were fortunate enough to work the gold medal game. So they put the best people on the gold medal game, and they could do it because the American and Canadians were not playing in the finals.
Correct.
If the shoe had been on the other, if it was Canada and U.S. and you'd have been bounced from that game because you are an American official, what's your thought process on that? Should they have the best officials on the best games, or do you have to go to a neutral country and put the German official in to work Canada and U.S.?
You know, I've been hit with this, and we actually had it at my U18 tournament in Slovakia a few years back. I was sitting in the stands watching the semifinal game between Sweden versus USA, and I'm sitting next to the Swedish linesman, and we both knew, we're like, okay, we think we're the top 2 people here. Whoever wins this game the other person's going to get to work the gold medal game, and the other person with the bronze medal game. Sure of what happened. USA beat Sweden in overtime. I look at him and say, congratulations, because the assignments come out. He worked the gold medal game. I worked the bronze medal game. And that's how it works. It's kind of the nature of the beast. We had the same system here in college hockey. So when it comes to Frozen Four, the national championship, I work for the Big Ten conference. I can't work the Big Ten when it comes to national championship.
The finals.
So
yep.
It's just one of those things. They don't want to have a conversation about it. I believe, personally, and I would assume that most of my officiating partners would agree, that we want the best guys on the ice, no matter who it may be. Passport shouldn't be an issue when it comes to international hockey. But at the same time, you don't want to have that one controversial call that I make that goes for USA, and they're like, well, as an American Lions made the call against Team Canada, you don't want to have that entire thing go down. Yeah. So I understand.
I get it. I mean, I get it.
I understand the rationale, but at the same time, you got to know that when we go out and work a game, we're not being biased by anybody. I could be working Team USA. If I made the NHL, I've been a Red Wings fan my entire life. I'm not going to be biased towards the Red Wings. I'm not be biased at all. You work the game. You want the best team to win. You do your job, and that's all it is. Yeah. But I do understand the rationale behind it at any level. So.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But I will say that when Team USA got knocked out by Slovakia in the quarterfinals, I was watching the game from my bed at my hotel, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a thing now. And then when I had the quarterfinal match between Sweden and Canada, and I get off the ice, and the Canadian linesman comes up to me and goes, okay, here we go. And then sure enough, me and that Canadian linesman got to work the gold medal game together because Canada and USA did get knocked out. So I know hockey fans around the world might have been frustrated.
We're disappointed, but referees around the world were very excited.
Yeah.
Referees were a little bit like, all right, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew one of the officials that would have worked a gold medal game, and he ended up getting a bronze medal game. This is a number of years back because, again, he was in line for it, but the wrong teams ended up in the finals, and that puts these guys on the bench. So.
Well,
it's kind of crazy.
Also to mention, on the women's side, I mean, we know that USA and Canada dominates the women's side every year in international tournaments. And this year in the finals, we had North Americans working the gold medal game in the Olympics because we have the women officials, the best ones that they were the best ones there. They got to work the gold medal game. And on the women's side, it's a little bit different because it's not as much competition quite yet. It's getting better, but it's not quite there yet. So if we were to always go under the rationale that USA and Canada cannot work their own teams on the women's side, we would have never had a North American official with gold medal game at the Olympics or the World Championship because I'm pretty sure every match has been USA versus Canada.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's a little bit different. It's the flip side. And again, I understand the rationale. I'm not frustrated by it. It's just kind of the nature of the beast in our job. You go to a tournament, you be the best officials there, but if your country works the gold medal game, then you get the bronze, which is it's a small consolation, but still an honor to work that game. So.
Yep. All right, last comment, and then we're going to head out here. I appreciate you staying on, Billy. Karen says, what do you say when a coach is too ridiculous to answer? That never happens, right?
That never happens. I don't know. I guess there's not really one answer to give him, but you kind of give him the look and be like, really? You can kind of skate away and kind of, give them that ridiculous answer back. Like, I'm not going to waste my time talking to you about this kind of thing. Or you can make a joke. If you're a funny guy and you have a good personality for that, crack a joke. Like, I mean, there's a game I can remember. One of my good friends was refereeing it, and we're on it together. And it was a weird situation where the team got to choose whether they wanted to play 5-on-3 shorthanded for 2 minutes or 5-on-4 shorthanded for 4 minutes.
4 minutes, yep.
Very strange situation. I've only had it once in my career, and that was the game. So we go to the coach and say, well, they have the option to play 5-on-3 or 5-on-4. And he's like, I've never heard of that before. What's the rule reference? And the referee goes, I don't know, 645Z? Who cares? And just skates away from it. It's like, okay, well, there you go. Because he has a personality and get away with saying stuff like that. And the coach can kind of go like, all right, and just like laughs it off kind of thing. Like it's a lot of different communication factors to it, but for me, I'd probably just skate away from a question that seems a little ridiculous to go like, are you really answering that question right now? Bye, and be done. Yeah. Because it's not a very fruitful conversation anymore. You just kind of get out of it. Because if you don't, it gets worse and worse from there.
I mean, I would see, like coach put in that situation, you want to go 5-on-3 or 5-on-4, it'd be like, I don't know about this because it doesn't happen very often. But it's probably more, I think she's probably referring to the coach that thinks, why is that icing? Or why is that not icing? But, it is what it is.
Because I blew my whistle and put my hand in the air and called icing, that's it.
Yeah, the last thing I want to be doing is stop and play. Okay? Yeah. No offense. I mean, I always wonder about that.
$10 a minute ice time. Let's keep it moving, boys.
I'm not being paid for the time out here. I'm paid by game.
Yeah. All right. Our guest today, Billy Hancock, legendary referee. We can say that now. You've worked the gold medal game. He's worked the He works the AHL. He works IHF. He works all the good stuff. Works all the good stuff here, too, including the might split ice games. You might see him at one of those. You never know. Because he's that kind of guy. All right.
Blue puck in my face.
Right. Yeah. Hey, no icings with the blue puck, though.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We do this every Monday, 5:30. It's the Ref Room. I'm Scott Smokin Silz, Brad Baumruck, and our special guest, Billy Hancock. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule, Billy. Hope we'll get you back here again, and we'll see you guys next week on the show right here. If you want to be a sponsor for the show, all you have to do is go to buymeacoffee.com/refroom, and you can buy some caffeine for your favorite referees. Or your least favorite referees, depending on how your team did last time. All right, that's it, guys. Have a great week. Peace out, everybody. We'll see you next Monday at 5:30. It's the Ref Room.